the blessed month of Kiyahk, where we will follow the events leading to the birth of our Lord Jesus Christ. Today, we just heard the gospel about the annunciation from the angel Gabriel to Zechariah, the priest, and his wife Elizabeth. And we heard twice that they were both advanced in age and they couldn't have children because Elizabeth was barren. And they prayed and prayed all their life to have children, but they would not. And when finally the good news came, it wasn't received with joy, but it was received with skepticism. And today, thinking about that, we need to talk a little bit about a disease or a disorder called spiritual aging. As we age and grow old in our bodies and we feel the burden of the years, also our spirits grow old. But it is not what it meant to be. Maybe the body can go old, will be weak, will be bent down, can't walk, can't run. But the spirit was not created for that. The spirit is from God, and God never grows old. However, when we face trials and when we wait on the Lord, many, many years, asking for something or expecting a request or a wish to be granted from God, especially if we're good people. Zacharias and Elizabeth were good people. He was the priest. They were from the tribe of Levi. They were in the circle of God. They worshiped God. They served God with all their life, and they believed in God. But they waited so many years for their wish to be granted. And they didn't wish for something wrong. They only wished for a child. It is not a bad request. But years and years and years have passed, and they maybe gave up on this request. They gave up maybe on God that He would listen to them. So they went into what we call spiritual aging, when we still worship God, we still come to church, but we are really not really energized. We're not really growing in hope and in faith, but we're just here. It becomes a matter of a habit, of a status quo. Yes, I'm a priest, I'm a servant, I'm a deacon, I teach, I serve, I help God, or I am just a Christian and I'm trying to follow God. I pray, I read in the Bible, but there is no zest in my life, there is no energy, there is no spiritual energy that is helping me grow and grow more. So when God finally answers my prayer, I can say, well, God, sorry, it's too late. Or how come you can do this now? And this is what really Zacharias fell into, this trap of spiritual aging. And he would not just receive or be a father, but he will also be a father to the greatest man born to women, as Jesus said. He will be the father of John the Baptist, and he will be the prophet of the Most High. He will prepare the path of the Lord, but it was too much for Zacharias to believe after this so many years. Just remind you that David, the prophet, in Psalm 37, he said that I have been young and now I'm old, yet I have not seen the righteous forsaken, nor his descendants begging bread. David, the prophet, has made this witness that he's been serving God, believing in God since his young age, and now he is old, and God remains faithful. No righteous has been forsaken, and his descendants, they are not begging for bread. God is faithful. And yes, we wait for long, long times. We might wait for years until something happens. And it is something good. We're not asking for something bad. But God, in his total wisdom, shapes us by waiting. And we need to be faithful and believing in him. As I was reading this gospel yesterday, it came to my mind the story of Caleb. You know, in the Old Testament, when Moses was about to enter the promised land, he sent spies, 12 spies. 2 of them were Joshua and Caleb. They were young back then, not so young. They were 45 years old. And they went into the promised land, and they saw all the challenges, and they came with totally different news than the rest of the spies. The rest of the spies, the 10 people, told Moses that it won't work. They are a mighty army, mighty land. We can't overcome them. Let's go back. And Joshua and Caleb said, Moses, no, it is ours. This land belongs to us because the Lord has given it to us. And then finally, after 40 years, they were able to go into the promised land. And when Joshua, he took leadership after Moses, they conquered the land, they made dwelling in it, and they started to divide the land among the tribes. And then we hear about Caleb. So Caleb was only mentioned when he was young, when he spied the land and he came with the news. And then the Bible doesn't mention anything about him except after 40 years in Joshua chapter 14, and I will read it for you. Then the children of Judah came to Joshua in Gilgal, and Caleb, the son of Jephunneh, said to him, you know, and now remember, Caleb was 85 years old. So 40 years. You know the word which the Lord said to Moses, the man of God, concerning you and me. I was 40 years old when Moses, the servant of the Lord, sent me to spy out the land. And I brought back word to him as it was in my heart. Nevertheless, my brethren who went up with me made the heart of the people melt, but I wholly followed the Lord my God. So Moses swore on that day, saying, surely the land where your foot has trodden shall be your inheritance and your children's forever, because you have wholly followed the Lord my God. So I'll go back. Caleb was just 40 years old. I'm sorry. And after 45 years, they started to divide the land. And Moses back then gave Caleb a promise that this land that he trod with his feet, it will be his. So Caleb kept this promise for 45 years. And those 40 years in the wilderness, it was so hard. They went around themselves in a circle for whole 40 years, struggling, begging God to guide them. And because of their sins, because of whatever happened in these 40 years, they were going in circles. But Caleb still, he kept this promise in his heart. And now, behold, the Lord has kept me alive, as he said, these 45 years. Ever since the Lord spoke this word to Moses while Israel wandered in the wilderness. And now, here I am this day. Here I am claiming my promise. "85 years old, as yet I am as strong this day as on the day that Moses sent me." So people here, when we reach like maybe 50 or 60 years old, we said, khalas, we can't do it anymore. We need to retire. I can't serve. Let the service be for the young people, the young generation. I am done. I did my duty. But Caleb, 40 years back then, and then 45 years later, when he was 85 years, still claiming the promise, still saying that I am strong on this day as on the day that Moses sent me. Just as my strength was then, so now is my strength for war, both for going out and for coming in. He doesn't want to give up. He basically doesn't want to give up. Why? Because he followed the Lord with all his heart, and he believed that our Lord is a Lord of strength and youth. It doesn't matter how many years you are, but if the Lord called you for service, for believing, for waiting, for trusting him, you are ready. And he said that I am ready now for war as I was ready 45 years ago. Now, therefore, give me this mountain of which the Lord spoke in that day, for you heard in that day how the Anakim were there, and that the cities were great and fortified. It may be that the Lord will be with me, and I shall be able to drive them out, as the Lord said. So he didn't just want to get a nice piece of land, no enemies, no struggles. No, give me this mountain, because those people, I am ready to go and fight them and drive them out of this mountain. It is mine. The Lord has given it to me. And Joshua blessed him and gave Hebron to Caleb as an inheritance. So in this wonderful story, and I will invite you to read it, Joshua 14, this man of God, after 45 years, 85 years old, is still going for God. He's been waiting for 40 years, but he kept the promise, and he claimed that promise. He didn't give up. So what can we do to keep this energy, keep this youth, keep this zest in our spiritual life? In Isaiah 40, Isaiah speaks about God and said, He gives power to the weak, and to those who have no might, He increases strength. Even the youth shall faint and be weary, and the young men shall utterly fall, but those who wait on the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. Waiting on God is not a wasted time. Waiting on God is not an idle time. Waiting on God renews my strength. Waiting on God shapes me and strengthens me and prepares me to be ready for the gift, for whatever I am requesting from Him, for the wonderful gift that He is willing to give me. Waiting on God is not a waste of time. Unfortunately, we look at waiting as it is a wasted time. Years are going, and people and events are just passing by me, and I fall in this self-pity that I am the victim of just waiting. Look at those people. They got married. They got their degrees. Look at those people. They bought a house before me. They did this and this and this and that. And look at me. I am doing nothing. I am not worthy of this life. I am helpless. I am hopeless. And we start to go into this self-destruction talk. But look at Caleb, 85 years old, and he's still looking ahead, and he's not giving up, and he wants to go fight for God. He wants to serve God, and he is waiting on that promise that he was given 45 years ago. I remember St. Paul in 1 Corinthians chapter 9, when he said, "For I preach the gospel, I have nothing to boast of, for necessity is laid upon me. Yes, woe is me if I do not preach the gospel. Woe is me if I do not believe in God. Woe is me, and woe is all of us, is every one of us, when we give up on God and we don't wait on Him. Woe is the person who just gives up on God, because in giving up, you are saying to Him, you're not faithful. You forget your children. But no, God does not forget. We don't want to be like Zechariah, who saw the angel, who was inside the altar, serving God, in the circle of God, living with God every day, even preaching His promises to people and counseling people and guiding people, but he himself, he did not have hope. He did not have faith in his own personal struggles. We might be very good servants, good deacons, good leaders, good people of God, but in my own personal life, I am a victim of waiting. I am a victim of not really believing in God that He will change and He will touch me in my own personal needs. That's why we need to pray with David in Psalm 103, "Bless the Lord, O my soul, and all that is within me. Bless His holy name. Bless the Lord, and forget not all His benefits." We tend to forget. So remember the benefits of God and the gifts of God that He gave you, that He touched you with every day. And you say, as He was with me back then, He will be with me today and tomorrow. Someone said that if we worry too much about today, remember that today was the tomorrow that yesterday you worried about. Does it make sense? Today, after it is gone, it's okay. Nothing bad really happened. So remember that today is the tomorrow that yesterday you worried about. Yesterday we worried about tomorrow, which is today, right? فهمت ولا؟ Today is the tomorrow that yesterday you worried about. And look at you, you're safe and sound, and the world has not ended. You have your family around you. So wait on God. Wait on God, enjoy, and have a new song in your mouth. God puts a new song in your mouth, a new song of praise, a new song of hope. This is what we need to have in this world. Look around us. All the news are depressing, whether here, in Egypt, in Syria, in the whole world. It is depressing. It is ugly news, ugly events that we are monitoring every day. And it is so easy to just lose hope. It's so easy to lose faith. It's so easy to doubt God's promises because we go by this tangible reality that we touch. But remember Caleb, although he went through all the terrors and the struggles of being lost and just wandering and going in circles in the desert for 40 years, he kept the promise. And he kept his energy. And he wanted to go for war again. And he didn't give up. 85 years old, didn't give up. But he is willing to go and compete with the youth and go and serve God. So let us renew our energy, renew our minds, because I believe aging is not just in the body, but aging is in the mind, in the way we think, in the way we view the world and view ourselves. So I hope that this message finds a place in your heart, finds a place in your mind, and we all have this energy and zeal for God to do His will and His work in this world. To Him all glory forever. Amen.